Yes. Yeah. Well, hello again, world, and welcome right back into my garden. This is Anne from Yard Steading in Jamaica. I fidgeting with the, what do you call it? Selfie stick. Yeah, because that's what I have. My tripod died. So I've had this selfie stick for what, about 6 months, and I just discovered that it can extend. Go figure. That's just an yes, folks. So today I'm on what I call show and tell. Mhm. Not doing any garden work of note, but what I have is show and tell. So today I'm going to be introducing you all to what I utilize in my garden to create my fertilizers, so to speak. All right. So just stay tuned. Let me get this thing situated properly. Yeah, that's so much better. Well, thank you. All right, so these are they. From my garden, it's regular household stuff. And I'm here this evening because I needed to take some things out of the regular box, so to speak, and put them in containers. All right, so in this jar, I'm going to be putting salt. So how I use salt? I use salt in two of my um, garden fertilizers, so to speak. One I use particularly as a soil drench. That is the one that has brown sugar. It has brown sugar, salt, and vinegar. And I use that strictly as a soil drench. So this is me pouring out my salt. Um, I don't use the stuff that is in my house because my daughter will tell me that I am depriving the house of the things that is purchased for the household. So what I do is whenever I go shopping, I buy for the garden as well. So yes, this is me and my garden. So whatever I put in my garden, I don't have a problem with, because guess what? I know it is clean, it is healthy, it is safe. And that is how we're supposed to grow our food. We're not supposed to afraid to put our food in our mouth because we spray something on there. So the first one, as I said, is what I use as a soil drench. It is made with salt, vinegar, and brown sugar. So I use white vinegar, regular cane vinegar. I'm not advertising here. It's just this is what I buy for my garden. So the quantity of each of the product utilized, I will tell you at a later date, because I don't want to mix you up and confuse. I don't want you to go and make nothing wrong. And I have all the numbers jumbled in my head. So that's what for the second component that I make up for my garden, I use as a foliar spray. So that one is consistent of, that one has in there now baking soda, sugar, salt, and vinegar. I use that one as a foliar spray. My sugar pan got empty, so I bought some sugar for my sugar pan. So all right, so you see this 1 pound of sugar, this 1 pound of sugar will serve me for the entire month. So it's not a drain on my finances, so to speak. The salt is going to serve me for more than a month. This is what I was keeping the sugar in this little bucket. Don't make no sense. Because I had to throw some in there and put up and throw. So I am taking it out of its misery. I have elevated it to a bigger container. So I might just buy another 2 pounds and fill this bottle up and have that for about 5 or 6 months. All right, so then now, the next thing that I make for my garden is there are instances when I see my leaves getting yellow, I give them some Epsom salt. So they sell agricultural grade Epsom salt. So this is what I buy. I buy this at the hardware of all places. Um, in my neck of the woods, the hardware sometimes function like a mini farm store. So they have a section of the hardware that you can go in and get agricultural supply. So I bought this in Mapen at a hardware. So yes, and this is utilizing a application of 1 teaspoon to a gallon of water. So I have had this for over 4 months. I have had this for over 4 months. And because I use this only when it is necessary, I will not use this very often. So if I don't see any yellowing on the leaves, I won't use the magnesium. Not at all. So Epsom salt, 1 teaspoon to a gallon. So when I have my tender plants coming up, like my seedlings, and I want to use it on there, I use the same 1 gallon of water, but I reduce the amount. So I use a half a teaspoon in a gallon of water, and I put that on my seedlings for the same purpose. All right, what else do I use? All right, so I make this concoction. This is a combination of rice water, eggshell, vinegar, and brown sugar. It is a very, what do I call it now? It's a compound fertilizer. So it does supply calcium to all my fruiting plants like the tomatoes and the peppers. And it's 1 tablespoon of, the thing that is the most in this is the rice water. So it's only a tablespoon of brown sugar that was added to this. 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. I crushed 2.5 eggshells on which I poured a half a cup of vinegar, and the rest of it was 5 cups of rice water, and that filled this bottle. So this is used in a 1 part to 10 part. So if I put, say, a cup of this compound fertilizer, I use 10 cups of water to dilute it. It is very concentrated. All right, so when my plants need a fast nitrogen fix, I reach for coffee, y'all. Now, I don't brew all of this coffee. What I do is I collect the leftovers. So at work, they brew coffee every single day. They used to pour it down the sink. And then one day I saw and I said, can you pour those in bottles for me and I'll collect them at the end of the week? So I collected 2 bottles this week. This one and this one. So you see all those nitrogen hungry plants? My cabbages, all of the cruciferous vegetables, they are gluttonous when it comes on to nitrogen. So I'll just pour this in their water and water them directly at the root. So my baking soda, I know they do sell agricultural grade baking soda, which is not as fine as the ones we use in the house. However, it have the same components. It's just that this is processed finer for baking purposes or household use. In the farm, because it is more often than not diluted in water, it is coarser. Well, the only place I have ever gone and see the agricultural grade baking soda is in St. Thomas. So I've asked a friend of mine that lived there to get me some, but until I get there to collect it, I will continue to use the regular baking soda. Again, I'm not advertising. I'm not paid for this, all right? So, baking soda. Baking soda have a whole lot of use in the garden. A whole lot. One is if your soil pH is very acidic. You can add some baking soda. You can either add it in water or sprinkle it in the soil and water it in. And what that will do is neutralize, as it were, the acidity in your soil, right? It also is a extremely good foliar spray. So my baking soda, sugar, salt, vinegar in water I use for foliar spray. This is one of the things that has been helping me to keep my garden. Again, a foliar spray once every 7 days. So what I have done to kind of hone in on all of this and not having to be doing spraying today, spraying tomorrow, spray the next week. The only spray that I spray outside of this once a week spray is my orange peel insecticide that I spray in the garden every 3 days. And that really isn't very toxic. That, to be honest, it really isn't very toxic. Because as it is now, I don't have acreage. And even if you have acreage, it's a matter of doing it and it don't take a lot of time. For me, I'm going to have to invest in a bigger sprayer so that I can cover my spraying in less than 10 minutes. For right now, it takes about 10 or so minutes to do. And as long as you structure it, it's being done early morning. And in the early morning, what I do is I invest in my garden in the early morning. So I'm in the garden from 5:10, 5:15 in the morning. And if spraying is what needs to be done first, then that's the first thing on the agenda. And immediately after I spray, I will water. And that's it for the morning. Because during the spraying process, I do the inspection. And then after watering, then what I'll do is while watering now, you check to see if there's anything that needs to be harvested if you're harvesting. So yeah, kind of like, and when you're going to harvest stuff, it's kind of obvious because if it's tomatoes, they are ripened. You notice the beans when they become full. If it is the green leafy vegetable, you don't have to wonder if you need to harvest because the size of the leaves dictate when you harvest them. For your beets is the size of the root and them normally come up out of the ground. So you have to search the ground for them. If it's onion, the same thing because they don't bear under the ground. Once they have begin to bulb up, them come up on the top and sit down. So it's really easy, so to speak. Your okras, you notice them because listen, if you don't pay attention to the okras, by the time you see them this morning, if you miss a morning, the next day them is as tough as nail. So gardening demands that we be very attentive. All right, so outside of all of that, then there's my coffee grounds, which I collect from work as well. So I am never out of coffee grounds. So this is a week supply of coffee ground that I collected today. I still have a container that is almost full. Now, I use coffee grounds for more reason than one. I am going to be inserting in my garden beds, what do you call it now? These are for fertilizing the garden. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to be using my handy dandy drill to pierce the bottles, holes in the bottle all around. All around. So let me kind of show you what I'll do. So that kind of size hole, can you see that? Yeah. So I'm going to put this size hole all around the bottle and I'm going to put two holes, only two in the bottom. And the two holes in the bottle is to help with the seepage. The holes on the side of the bottle is to ensure that the worms can go in and eat the food scrap. So for each garden bed, it is dependent on its length. So like the garden bed that I have let me show you the one I'm talking. In that bed, that has the sweet pepper in there. All right, so for that bed, I would put three of these in there. Three of these bottles. So I'll space them evenly and they have to have a top on there. So because I'm not trying to grow maggots. And if I leave the vegetable scrap in there and it's open, flies are going to go in there and breed. That's not what I'm hoping for. So in each of these, so when you put the food scrap in there, you put a handful of coffee grounds in it. You add a little water. You cap it. These are going to be buried in the ground, by the way. You cap it and periodically you come in, like every week or every week and a half, you come in, you uncap it, put more vegetable scrap in, add some more coffee grounds if it is needed, you lock it back up, and you're feeding your garden. So this is where I'm going. I used to do this before, um, because I've been doing a lot of liquid feed in the garden in this season. I have not reintroduced these, but I need to be composting. I need to ensure that every single bed in my garden is infested with worms, y'all, because worms, whilst they feed, they poop. And I don't know if you know, but worm casting is one of the most expensive fertilizer. They call it black gold or vermicompost. You don't have to go out and buy it. You can create the environment right inside of your garden so that you can have superb quality food growing in your garden at little to no expense. Because guess what, no? You buy the food that you're going to get the scrap from. So what you are doing is you're cycling, as it were, everything. So you're creating a closed loop. So you buy the food, you eat the food, you put the scrap in. The scrap is digested by the worms and poop, and the worm fertilize what you are growing, and you eat, and the cycle continues. So you're creating a closed loop cycle. So I have been collecting these, and for the bigger beds, I might introduce a bigger container. You don't have to have a container with lid. If you don't have container with lid, what you will have to do, however, is to ensure that you put either grass clippings on the top or wood chip so that the insects don't invade. At all costs, you must keep out the pesky insects. And you don't want to invite rodents into your garden and those kind of stuff. Nah. So I already have a rodent problem. It's only that my rodent ain't rat. They are mongooses. I will not be giving them anything to come and look for. So I'll be reintroducing also one other thing that I have not been making since I've relaunched my garden, and that is I make my own fish fertilizer. Oh yes, and it don't stinky. It really is not stinky. So I'll invest in a pound of fish, or if I don't want to go the fish route, I'll buy some fish heads. I'll dump it in a container with some rainwater. I'll pour some molasses in, and I'll cover it in the sun, and it stays there for a month or two. And that is my fish emulsion. And I use that in a 1 part to 10 part ratio, just like I use my rice water fertilizer. So that's it for this evening, folks. Let me say thank you to all those who have come on board. Thank you. I've seen the exponential growth in a day or two, and I am ecstatic. Thank you all for making it yard studying in Jamaica. Thank you, Maria. I know you sent some of the traffic over here. Appreciate your sister girl. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you to my old subscribers. Thank you for your comments. And I'm encouraging those who are here who have not yet joined in to subscribe, leave a comment, share the videos, leave, leave, leave your comments. Please. I am so encouraged by the comments. Press the post notification bell so that you can be made notified each time a new video is uploaded. Until we meet again, have a blessed evening. Ciao, guys.